As prices rise, these 5 simple frugal skills could mean the difference between panic and peace.
Have you felt it? Prices are rising. Just about everything is going up, and you have to have some ways in order to cope with it, especially when you're on a fixed income.
If you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
This is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality.
Word number 1 is flexibility. Your budget should be a tool, not a trap. You shouldn't be just locked into it, unable to do any adjustments with it.
Well, and you can't be trapped in it, because that's what happens is when your budget is super rigid and something comes along that needs to move that budget, then that's when it feels like that budget begins to crack apart, right? But if you have a little bit of flexibility, it's going to give you that buoyancy, so to speak, to be able to look realistically at areas of your budget that have a little bit of give. We call that finding the holes. It's when we go through our budget and say, where exactly is each part of our money going? How big is that hole that's flowing through, right? So it's just like sand in a colander. It's flowing through these holes, which are all of equal size in a colander. But for this example, your budget has each category, which is a different size hole because there's more money that needs to go through one part of your budget than others. And you look at all of those budget categories and say, how can we make that a little bit tighter? Is there a little bit of give in certain budget categories? When you know that ahead of time, it's a lot easier when something begins to rise in one area to say, wait a minute, I know that I can pull some money from that one budget category that has some give in it, and I can move it over here. But you have to be flexible in your budget, especially these days.
Word number 2 is creativity. When money gets tight, creativity is your best asset.
It's the ability to look at these rising prices and say, how can we make this work using what we already have, what we already own? How can we make this work in using some unconventional ways of looking at this? Basically, creativity at its core is the ability to think outside the box.
Yes.
And I think you have to do that, especially in times like these. You have to be able to look at the situation and say, what have other people done? You need to read, you need to research, you need to ask some questions, and you're going to need to hold on to your hats. You may need to try some new things that you haven't done before.
There you go.
And I know that's scary, but what's the worst thing that can happen? You try something new and you go, well, that did not work quite as well as we had anticipated that it would work. And that's why it's important, hear me out, when you are creatively trying to deal with rising prices, it's hit and miss. You might have to try some things for a little while before you hit on the solution that's going to work the best to help keep those prices in check. So don't be afraid of that happening. It doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that you need to try what? Something else.
Word number 3, tenacity. This is when things go awry. Things are not going exactly the way you have planned. Maybe something's happened, an unexpected expense has come across your table, and you have to have some grit and bear it and go through it. No matter what happens, tenacity is a great thing to bring with you.
Tenacity is the ability to never say we are stuck. Larry always knew when we were raising the kids and we had a really low income when it had been a really bad day, because he'd come home and I was like, everything's awful. He's like, okay, been a bad day. And that was that moment when I was like, we are stuck. And instead, part of what happened when I changed my mindset was the ability to look at my kitchen floor, which was linoleum from the 1930s, and say, I might not have the nicest kitchen floor in town, but I'm going to clean the kitchen floor. It's going to be a clean old kitchen floor. I'm going to make sure that I'm doing everything I can so we can save money to replace said old kitchen floor. And it allowed me to change my mindset so that I realized I wasn't stuck. We were moving toward a goal, and we were making sure that we took the steps that were necessary in order to make forward progress. Now, if you'd like some really practical ideas and some step-by-step instructions on how to lower some of the most common areas of your budget, I walk you through 10 different ways that you can radically reduce your expenses. It's in a free guide that I put together, and it also includes checklists. I'm going to make sure that there's a link to it in the description of the video.
Word number 4 is consistency. Consistency is the quiet hero behind every budget. This is what keeps you going at a steady rate and keeps you on track.
90 days. That's our rule of thumb. You try something new and you commit to it for 90 days. Part of the problem is people try new ways to lower their expenses, and when it doesn't work in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they throw up their hands and say, didn't work. I tried it, it didn't work. You have to have some consistency behind it, and you've got to have data. It's all data driven. How much did your expenses go down? Did they go down in month 1, slightly up in month 2, but way down in month 3? Then that's overall a win, because overall you averaged lowering the expense considerably. That gives you the track record to know that what you are doing is indeed helping you to lower the expenses. Give it 90 days. Give it some consistency.
One of the tools that we use in order to get through this consistently is the PI method. The PI method helps you evaluate what you're doing as you're doing it in your budget. The PI method simply means that you have to plan what you're doing, you implement this procedure that you're working through, and then you evaluate how it worked. What did it do for you? How much money did it save you? Did it bring your expenses down? That's called the PI method, and it gives you a way of getting through consistently.
I did a little workbook on the PI method. If you want the workbook, I'll make sure there's a link to the PI method workbook also in the description of the video.
Word number 5 is efficiency. I really like this word because I like to do things very efficiently. I don't like to be making false moves or extra steps that are not needed when I'm doing something. I want to do something where I provide the most direct route to get from A to B. So efficiency is very important in a budget. It will help you to maintain some peace about what you're doing.
Look at all of your tasks throughout the week. Is there a way that you can batch some of those tasks together? And in the batching process, it will help you to save money. Let's give an example. We don't like to leave the house unless we have 4 or 5 things on our list that we're going to go out and accomplish. So before we leave the house, if we know we need gas, he's going to look at the Gas Buddy app and find the least expensive place in town to fill up the car. We're going to plan all of our different errands in a circular pattern around that gas station. Now, don't drive 20 or 30 miles out of your way to get cheaper gas, because then that's just defeating the entire process. For us, it's pretty easy. We live in a metropolitan area, so there's generally 1 or 2 gas stations that are at the lowest that specific day of the week. Make sure that you're planning a circular route. So you're starting from home, you're going to make your way to the furthest place out, and then make your way back home again. And make sure that you have a list with you. Larry does not like it when I inadvertently leave the list at home. I'm just going to say it. It has happened a time or two. But that's where I give you the plug for take a photo of your list and have it on your phone, because that way you know your phone's going to be with you. That's an example that you can use for how can I take all the tasks that I need to do, group them together in a way that really makes sense. I get some things done and I save some money along the way.
So this trip covers 5 categories for us, and that would be fuel, groceries, food, entertainment, and books. So we've really wrapped a lot of things up in a very short trip out with the car.
And that's what you just mentioned made me remember. What he just said, all those budget categories are affected by that one trip that we took. Any time that you can do one action and it impacts more than one budget category, that is like a twofer. It's a 2 for 1, right? You've done one thing and has impacted your savings rate in more than one budget category.
Here's the important thing to understand about these 5 skills. They're repeatable, so you want to put them into action many times a week. That way you're getting the most out of what you're doing.
And here's the thread running through every single one of them. I have to say it, guys. It helps you to do what? It helps you to prioritize what matters the most.
If you want to dig deeper into specific frugal habits, we did a video on it, and it's called Old-Fashioned Frugal Habits. We'll have it linked right over there.